or less eaten a little bit hard, but it's not the end of the world. This is still overall a good look. What if we? Yeah, I mean, at this point, this is still crazy good. So really, like, one thing I want to go into, because it was something that came up today, and it's something that's always difficult for new people, but even like experienced traders, you still do it, which is just that, like, you get however many green days we get in a row, and then you have one red one, and you're like, oh Jesus, I'm going to lose all of my money right now. It's just not that way. And so, like, it's like even this run up here that we had like last season, which is you get like 10 green days in a row, a little bit of a correction, bunch of green days in a row, and even through this chop, like all the altcoins are still performing really well. Like this is actually the stuff that I really like. This is where I'll go into, single day trading kind of a thing. I'm not watching, or I'm not making trades on the 1 minute charts, but 5 to 15 minutes in and out, just taking 20% a day kind of thing. That's the best. This is the midterm hold kind of stuff. The stuff that I like to jump out of. So a lot of people that are midterm holding, to put that in perspective, are essentially jumping into the market somewhere in this region.
Right.
And they're not selling until essentially this region.
Right.
Because I like to be a little bit more active, I like to pretty much expect this to happen at some point and just jump out of the market for it.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking about that kind of general, 2x gain on if you're just holding small caps, essentially, that's not including getting out for this. And so it's pretty easy to, kind of go beyond that level.
Yeah.
But I don't want everybody to assume that it's super easy to do, because one of the things is that, this little pullback that we get here today, that could be this candle. Yeah. And then it runs up for 2 more weeks after that, and you're sitting there just, holding your pants. Yeah. And so it's like, that's why I didn't want to give a whole lot of feedback of stuff this morning, because if we have a correction, it's not, before this level is lost, I have zero panic. This is nothing. And in uptrends, if you are pulling out of the market as it's on its way down, like in a correction, you're probably too late. I don't want to say it that way, because you can still, this is definitely, 2 weeks of, this is a 3-week just bloodbath here. There's a couple green spots in the middle. But if you're trying to jump out of the market for these, essentially trying to anticipate these kind of things happening, you have to be prepared that if you jump out of this and, we hit this white trend line here, this could bounce super hard. And you have to know kind of ahead of time, if you're wanting to say, hey, if it hits this and bounces, I'm back in. Right away, I'm done, I'm back in. We're not tanking here. That's something that is hard to get used to. I don't actually know how to teach for that. No. Which is why a lot of people midterm hold. They hit these things and you drop your averages in here, and it's okay, we're above our averages. Start just grabbing the coins you like. Sure, you go down a little bit, but you have this kind of in mind. So actually, in this case, you'd probably sell here and then pick back up when things got good again.
So would you have sold when it's lost the averages there then at that point, obviously?
So my strategy realistically, so it's hard for me to tell because this is hindsight, and hindsight's 50-50 all the time. Realistically, what I like to do is not jump in for these. Essentially jump in somewhere in here or on this retest, something in this pullback, starting to plant seeds through here. And, you get a little bit of a pullback and it's like, okay, let me throw some more in. That's fine. My strategy would be to sell somewhere in this nonsense. The problem with that is that I would have then had a week of everything turning green, and I would have went, shit, I did it too early. Yeah. But essentially knowing, in this time, I'm going to anticipate probably 75% to 100% profit gain on the stuff that I was holding at that point.
Yeah.
And so it would have been one of those cases of, there's no way this was the pullback. it's going to come, and I have to be okay with a week of sitting on the sidelines. And typically what I do, what's that?
What's your indication at that point where your circle is? What's your indication? Zooming down to lower time frames and seeing a lower high, or?
Not necessarily as much as everything being overheated. So checking things like funding rates, checking things like just the fact that everything has been very green for a while. It just, we haven't touched averages again. Everything's just been floating. And that's usually what it comes to, is it's like, okay, have I had just over a month of a great time? Then it's like, okay, let's sit on the sidelines because something has to give.
Something's got to give, yeah.
And that's why the goal is really to get out before that happens. And that's why I say that, like, even today, if it went super, super sour today, are you too late? Because this is 1 8-hour candle that just crushed everybody here and set the stage. So, like, if you're waiting to hear and you sell at this bottom of this candle, this entire week, the altcoins are bouncing. You're actually getting profit here. And so it's a balance that, again, it's impossible to teach for. It's just one of those things of like, oh yeah, we've had a couple good weeks. You look at your portfolio and say, you know what, this is pretty solid. Let me pull out and reevaluate. Because if there's one thing I've learned in trading, is that if you're not sure if you've got a good entry point, you probably don't have one. Because as this is dragging down, you get to this point and you're like, oh my God, I wish I had money right now. I wish I could buy these things, but you're already in. And so it's like leaving when it's good and then just saying, that this time is going to come at some point.
Yeah. Is
super powerful. But I don't know how to train for it, and I don't know that you can train for it.
No.
And one of my takes that I've been kind of trying to harp on is that I just don't think that this point is here. I have been anticipating that to be essentially this resistance level up here. We hit where this failed, and it's then been, however many weeks of a decent time, 4 weeks or so, and it's like, okay, let me get here and I'll wait. And often what I'll do is if I pull out of the market and kind of am waiting for this to happen, if we do get some of these days where everything's looking good, I will then just throw in some small day trades, get some more practice with small charts, take 5 to 10% here and there, and just keep stacking a little bit. Mm-hmm. That helps alleviate some of the oh my God, I'm missing out on everything scenario. But again, that is a different strategy than just saying I'm going to buy here, and I know that we're in a macro uptrend, and just saying I don't care about this because I know this is here.
Yeah.
I can't do that because it hurts. It really does. It just hurts to see that happen. But I wanted to cover that first, that I could feel the stress in the chat this morning of watching this just lose tiny levels here. But what's great, we retested this channel one time, like this full white pennant here. We tested that, or the white triangle. We tested it one time, and the next time down is already at a higher low, which is awesome. The only thing that would be better, the only thing that would be better if we were actually in like this kind of a scenario where flat top. I do love those, but this will do. This is not bad. This is good. And so it's always one of those things of like reminding yourself, because I think that this morning a lot of us were sitting here like we're looking at it on this level and we're like, oh no, we lost this. This is terrible. And it's like, well, go back to what you're looking at, and it's like, is it that terrible, or is it exactly what you want it to be? But again, the part that just sucks is that this is green and this is red. That's it.
Yeah.
And sometimes half the battle in these uptrends is just knowing, it's the confidence of knowing that we are in an uptrend, that things are better.
I mean, when you look at it like that, it just looks like it's broke out and just retested, doesn't it? That's it.
That's exactly what I mean. Like, this is, if we lost this white level, I would be very unhappy. I would be very upset about that. But you can actually, now that we're on Screenshare, you can actually see my alerts. I've literally got an alert hovering on it, because part of me was hoping this was going to come back down in here. And I was hoping that at the same time we were going to get some divergence, and I was going to buy some more stuff.
Yeah.
But now that we're actually here, let's drop one of those down. But zooming out, this looks this looks much better.
From this way, from this perspective, you wouldn't buy small caps, just like the bigger coins then.
So it depends. So I really do a mixed bag. I really like the small caps, just because if you get into them at the right time and you don't buy the ones that have already exploded, it really is just one of those waiting games where you just wait for them and they just fire off. They really just do. The problem with that is that you have to, at least for my scenario, I have to buy many of them, like a bunch of different ones. And as one fires off, I will sell out of it and transfer that to something else. The other part of that is that I do also, like if I'm doing my day trading, swing trading kind of stuff, I will do that with the mid caps, large cap kind of stuff. And so if this actually came back down here, I probably would have picked up more. I don't know. It depends on where things would have been, but probably something like, yeah, that would have been. I actually don't like that. That's really under. What else do we have? I need to rearrange a lot of this stuff too, but we can do a general scan of actually where's Luna. That's the real question because I got out of Luna already. So depending on where this would have been, it didn't care about today at all. I'm not sure what I would have picked up, but I definitely would have been looking at some of the larger stuff on this because when this bounces and goes up, those larger caps do just care about it more. Almost every green Bitcoin candle is going to translate to a green altcoin candle.
Yeah.
If they're the larger ones. It's true for like the small caps too. Like if we've got a bunch of small caps in here and they're all red today too. It's the same story. But they just bounce differently and sometimes they just don't care. They are just a little bit of their own creature. This is actually like if we go, it's a little bit of just kind of anecdotal, but if we go back to this area, I had some altcoin or some of the small caps through this, and it was like, this whole green candle, for example, dropped one of them by 10% or something like that. But then we get to this spot, and they 2x'd, and it's just like from nowhere, no reason. It had a pullback, everybody bought it, it 2x'd, and it's like, okay, well that makes no sense. The market's red right now, everybody's angry, and the small caps are just firing off. And again, out of 10 of them, one might do that. So you can't count on it. But it's the only reason I say that in this kind of midterm hold strategy, the only thing that I would really even consider holding through no matter what is the small cap stuff. Until you get to the point that you really are worried about, market conditions. That's when it's, you don't have all the profits you want. It's, pull out until you're confident what you're trading. But how are these looking? I wish Chris would stop posting this one, actually. He ruins so much stuff.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing. I was doing the same thing last season. It ran up like crazy here. And every one of these single wick, bang, up. That's Chris posting it, and it runs down. Chris posting it runs up again. But it's like I wish he didn't post this one because like look at this setup. Like this is so good. And these are starting to close in, and then he's like, "Oh, let's post it." But that's why every time you post it, I always sell off and reevaluate because all the bots that buy that are gonna bleed it out, and then perfect retest, and you can do it again. 45%.
Yeah.
But that's why when he posts this stuff, it's even if it's something I'm really, really solid in, I will almost always sell some, if not all of it, depending on the size of the coin. I mean, some of the small stuff I can't sell all of it to just sell against myself.
Yeah.
All right, I'm probably just going to radically change topic now if nobody has any questions. I'm also just going to. I'm just talking at this point.
That's fine. Well,
That's fine. I cannot talk what you're talking.
All right. So one of the basic questions was how to log trades, and I don't actually remember who asked this. I don't have a great answer for it because all of like the actual ways to track are horrible. And so I can't pull up my screen for it, but I do have like I wrote some like Python code for myself to API into some of the exchanges so that it will auto log like all the trades I make. The problem with that is that like the less known exchanges, so like things like Bolsa DX and stuff, I can't make that coding work for whatever reason. It's too much of a nightmare, and I just can't do it. And so like in terms of like tracking trades, I would not do it for every single trade you make. Like, oh, I bought here and oh, I sold 15% here and whatever. I would not track all of that. If you're trying to track something, I would just track total portfolio value on hell, even a weekly basis, let alone, daily or every few days. That's what I would do. Just, I don't know how many exchanges you guys are trading on, but if it's just a couple, I would just run through them and say, oh, I have, $5,000 in this one and $20 in this one and 100 in this one, and log those in just a spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be fancy. I think if you're trying to log every single trade, where you bought, where you sold, and what you're doing, you're just not going to keep up with it. Yeah, you're not going to keep up with it.
Gotcha.
And the most important thing that I'll actually do with tracking, so like even when I have my Python code like running the Coinbase API and stuff to log all my trades there, I actually don't even have it inputting where I'm buying and selling things. I have it to run one time a day, and it just puts into a sheet the total value of my portfolio then. And so I'm still only logging the whole value once per day.
Oh, gotcha.
And the real thing for that is that you can actually go back and, you're actually looking at this and you can easily plot those things. That's what I do after the fact. Plot them and say, okay, where did I actually make all my money? And what this really assures you with is that like having to nail this bottom doesn't matter because it ended up that in this, most of my gains, I think, were in this region. Almost all of them were here. That this entire run up was all Bitcoin. This pullback hit everybody. And then everything started to go and altcoins fired. And so it just assures you that it's like you don't have to be a part of this nonsense. Like this doesn't matter. Like wait until there's something going on.
Yeah.
But I would definitely recommend tracking total value, whether it's per week, per day, every couple of days, whatever it is. I would recommend that.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I have like a notebook here, and on the beginning of the day, I just note the date and the total value of the portfolio, and I just my memory, it's not the best one, and I just put like the coins that I have and the value that I paid for it, like my entry, and I just go from there but I don't do.
And I was gonna say I was doing that for a while, and then I started having, trading for other people where I'm holding a bunch of these small caps and doing other things, and it's just like, yeah, that's not gonna happen anymore. I can't do that.
Yeah, yeah. If you're trading for other people, yeah, then it's hard.
One thing, because I just turned it on, this indicator, the divergence one. So first, this is how everybody else uses it. It's made to actually go off of price action, just like it is here now. I don't do that because I like to keep it on all the time, and I hate this.
Yeah, me too. I would go crazy.
And so I just put it down here. Yeah, I just put it down here. Sometimes I still don't even like to see it, but it runs off the second axis, and it's like, what price it's pointing to doesn't matter because it goes right off of this apex, and so it's it's pretty easy to see if it's going off of the last candle or not, or where it's coming from.
Yeah.
The one piece of advice I will give Use it wisely. So all of the green is marking bullish divergence, all of the red's marking bearish divergence. I will share the settings that I have in here because I have changed these from the original, and I would recommend using what I've got. I've got things like number of divergences, a minimum of 2, because 1 in my mind doesn't mean anything, and it shows up everywhere. It's just it's not enough. But it's basically logging, telling you where that divergence is spotted. So this one's spotted on the RSI. And so actually we can see, let's see if we can actually find that. So it's saying from this peak to this peak, we have bearish divergence on the RSI, which if we look at it, it's there. It's just small. This is going sideways, that's going up. And so it's the same thing on whatever the CCI is, on balance volume, and every other indicator that's there. And so it scans all of them so you don't have. What's that?
Whatever frame. Does that change per time frame? I mean, you're on the 8 hour there.
Yep.
It just changes whatever you do, I imagine.
It'll match. Yep, it'll match whatever you're on.
Whatever you're on, yeah.
What's the name of this indicator?
So it's divergence for many. So if you put in divergence for many, it's the V4, but I don't think it's the EP one. It's a V4, but I don't know which. Maybe it's that one. It's got to be this one. It's divergence for many indicators. V4 is the one I use. I don't know actually what this EP stands for. That's new. But I changed the settings because I think before I think every box is gray and the words are colored or whatever. The one word of caution that I will use is that when you're using this on like a macro scale, a lot of people will like to use these to say, oh, Bitcoin pulled back to here already. We're at the bottom. Look at all the divergence that's stacking. No, no.
So the only indicator that you change on TradingView, it's the minimum number of divergences, right?
I think so. I don't know if it defaults to the candle close. Otherwise, it's these checkboxes. So I thought I did have don't wait for confirmation. So I have wait for confirmation on, so it'll wait for the last candle to actually close and confirm it. Otherwise, if you have this unchecked, it'll show you one on this last candle, even if it hasn't closed yet. I don't like to do that because it gives you some false pretenses. Yeah, other than that, it's just the colors that I have changed.
All right. Yeah, the colors are.
So in an uptrend, don't worry about bearish divergences because bearish divergences will be everywhere and it will plow through them just like this.
Mm-hmm.
In an uptrend, care about bullish divergence. So if we go down here to even this recent swing, so that's actually a horrible example. I might not have a good example on this. I was really banking that I would, but I don't. Like I said, I set this alert because basically my goal was that this was going to tap down here again, print some bullish divergence, which it definitely would have based on how different these RSIs are. And that bullish divergence would be good because we're in an uptrend. The bearish, yet everything just keeps climbing. But when you're in a downtrend, the opposite is true. When you're in a downtrend, worry about the bearish divergences. Like this showing up here and coming back and tapping this support line would have been a great spot to open up shorts again and trade down more. But a lot of that is kind of just the idea of like, don't go against the trend because it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And similar idea, one of the things that we talked about yesterday was that like, holding for uptrends, waiting for confirmation and then just midterm holding, taking profits probably a little bit early. So probably in this region or, somewhere in here, whatever. Waiting for the downside to start and then trading downside. One of the things that I don't like to do is short the market to death. There were a lot of people opening up shorts here, and I think it is insane. Mostly because the amount of profits that you get just from shorting, you have term downtrend here. The amount of profit you get just from trading this is sufficient for the entire downtrend. That all of these things are made to go up and to the right. And so trying to just short them to hell it's one of those things of just like get profits, be happy with it, wait for the next thing.
Yeah.
You try to keep things overextended for too long, and you're just going to ride it the other way. Did this care about this pattern at all? Not really.
Yeah, that bull trap there, the bear trap there got a lot of people.
But this is super mild for a bull trap. I mean, if this is almost like bull trap to bear trap. This comes back.
Yeah.
But I agree. This is the market said no, not yet. What else do we have here?
How do you? First thing, let me ask you, like, if you go like to the small cap coins or even altcoins, what do you first look? What do you expect to see in the charts?
Nothing immediately. So
other than a
I
pattern,
haven't.
Everybody can see the pattern, right? Like ascending, descending, triangles, and
So a lot of people don't see that. That's actually the first thing. A lot of people have no idea about any of these things. And there's quite a lot of people that, it's the same reason this exists. This is, we're following a pattern and say, oh, hey, we're in this one, we're waiting. This has just been accumulating. We're waiting. And then it goes and we say, well, guess what? I'm out of it. There's a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, this thing's green, to the moon forever. So like, there's a lot of people that have no idea about shapes. They just don't get it. A lot of what I do in a downtrend is I will actually just occasionally, pretty much like once a week, take some time and just add some patterns to anything that's existing. So at this point, this probably happened here. And I was like, okay, well, we're at support here. This is starting to be some kind of a channel where these are all touching. And it's like, all right, to the next coin. And just like kind of keeping these updated. So like I haven't drawn this for probably, this was probably actually drawn back in December. Of just like, let me just keep track of things so that when things turn around, I kind of know what I'm looking at. But essentially, if I'm going through coins, like when I'm trying to find things for, me to share or things that I'm interested in, it's essentially me going through this list that I sent you guys because it's the stuff I like the most. Starting here, first thing, where is it at compared to its moving averages? Just because that's a good indicator of if this one has any sense of being done or not. And I will typically start pretty zoomed out, so 4 hour or more usually, just to kind of get an overall picture. One thing I like about this one that I'm seeing right away, so I'll actually talk through this one because this is not one I had marked. So it's now on top of moving averages, and look at that support line. So one thing I wouldn't have liked here, so I probably looked at this back here. Like when we had started the group and we were all talking, I probably saw this here, and I said, there's no price history. There's nothing here. It's not above the moving averages. It's probably fine for an uptrend, but I just don't have any information to mark things off of. Now it's gaining traction. It has made its way back up, and it's touching right here. This is a spot. It's on top of the moving averages. That inflection point that we were talking about, these are starting to round themselves out. This will curl itself over. And again, it's super, super possible that this comes back down here, hits this moving average, hits this again, bounces off this purple line when it's over here, and just, does this kind of stuff for a while.
Yeah.
But eventually, bigger plans.
Yeah.
And so, like, sign of strength, great spot to enter. And so, like, the next thing I would do for this, because I actually, this setup, as simple as this is great.
Yeah.
This is perfect for midterms because the bottom's in. Man, this thing has no volume. You can tell by like just how glitchy the candles look. So this would be one that, so like reasonably, I would be willing to enter this right now. I'd be fine with that. For midterm holds, this is fine. There's nothing super exciting about it. It's rounded out. This very well might end up making some kind of handle that.
Yeah, it looks like a cup and handle like that.
Exactly. And so this very well might be something that gets dragged down pretty far. I mean, if I bought in here now and this started to come down, you know, that's actually not that bad. I was going to say, let's say we're down 12%.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. Buying in at this spot is essentially saying, no, yeah, I see what's going on here. I'm solidifying my spot. But based on how much this looks like it has pretty low liquidity, I'd probably buy a little bit now and revisit in a couple hours, because you're probably going to buy up a candle and then people are going to sell on it and, you know, slowly accumulate. But this is actually pretty money.
Yeah, that one is looking good for real. Like,
only other thing I would do is check for news on it, which I have. Telegram only lets me share a window, but I can go through. Let me. All right, I'm going to stop screen sharing.
Like Twitter or.
I'm going to stop screen sharing so that I can share a different window, because that will be more helpful. Oh, no, wait, it'll just let me switch windows. Perfect. All right, you guys see this? Hopefully there's nothing bad here to see.
Crypto panic.
Awesome. So, which one were we looking at? 2 CRZ. First thing, crypto panic.
Is this the best site you found for news?
For the small cap, it's where I start. And so I'll tell you the reason for that. So I'm going to type in 2 CRZ, and it's going to hate it again for whatever reason, because it's glitchy and dumb.
Are you in a gaming PC?
Yeah, I am.
I figure, because my computer will take and it's the first time I'm going to switch once I make money on this.
So I really don't expect anything to come up here. Why does it not? Why does it hate me right now? Too crazy NFT. Yeah, it sounds solid. Great project. All right, so nothing's coming up here. And CoinMarketCap is what I would use for all mid caps, large caps, all the big stuff will be in here. I mostly actually wanted to see this to see what its name was, to see if I can help this search a little bit. Crazy NFTs are going to hate this too. I don't know why it's not pulling any up. Because if I type in a different one, it'll pull it up. Yeah, it just hates it. All right, so let's see. What do we want to do next? We'll take to the Twitters.
Yeah.
2 crazy NFT. So the one thing, it doesn't exist. Sick. So the one thing I like about this, what's a different one, man? Kind of show you how I go through this. So if I type in man, the one thing I immediately look at, how recent is this stuff? You will, no joke, find some right now that say like 4 months. And it's like, guess what? They're not going to do anything new.
No.
3 days is not so bad. You can quickly kind of scan what some of these are. Pretty much what I do immediately is when you actually type in the coin. Let me make this big so I don't see anything in the background. Sorry. When you type in the coin website, hit up their website and go right to their roadmap if they've got it. It's going to be your best bet. And so I don't know where it is on here. I don't know if they've got one on here, but bingo. Here we go. We've already got timelines.
All right.
And you don't necessarily need it to be the craziest stuff. Mostly just that, look, they're in active team. They have something. If it says mainnet in here, says burning tokens, whatever, that's all the big stuff is better. But the fact that they have something they're showing people and that they're keeping up with, that's all that matters. It just tells you if you're buying an altcoin that is just a dead project, dead in the water. Do we think it's going to work now? It hates it. Sometimes it does just work after a while, but for whatever reason, it's not taking it. But that's pretty much the whole thing I'll do with news. Check this, see how recent their publications were, what they were posting on. If they're posting a bunch of stuff on Twitter, just go to their Twitter, see what they're saying, go to the website. That's pretty much it. It's just sometimes their websites make it hard to navigate. Let's see. And so essentially all I'm doing here, I will go back to do like the 2 hour sometimes. I like the 2 hour, but I have to zoom out really far. It makes the candles really small, but you get the bigger picture of what's going on. And so actually just for, if I were to go through this and I'm looking at buying this and I say, hey, I'm going to plant a seed here, what am I looking at for support resistance? That, this whole region, definitely this, that, this matches up over here too. And then, sky's the limit at this point. It's just drop some up here. That's all it is. And so if we're looking at hey, what's potential profits for this thing? Anywhere in here, realistic. So it's that's what I'm mapping out. That's why I like these. And not all of these will do that, but if this one only goes to this level, this entire season, then you know what? That's why we don't put our whole portfolio on the tiny caps, but you spread them out and you'll average it out. And so we can literally roll through. Hit space bar, we'll go to the next one, and I'm just going through them this way. Actually, pretty. Oh, this is the one that's super scammy looking. Yeah, this one looks like. This one just looks like Rug Pull City. Yeah. Profit, no profit, no profit. It's even back here, nothing, and then it just goes. So this one has potential because it's sitting on these. It's kind of on a support line. Just my opinion is just that if you have so much money that you have to throw some in this, that's fine. But this wouldn't be my top choice.
Yeah, this is kind of sketchy.
This one doesn't have a whole lot of price action. So this is a good example of where the moving averages just aren't a great example. Because you can't really trade off of that. All you can really do on this is, you have your Adam, your little Adam Eve going on. Shapes.
Yeah. Cup and handle. You could say that too.
Yeah, you got some of this jazz going on. That's pretty much it. Little handle, and then, but there's not a whole lot of price action here, which makes this one hard to decipher. Or some of this. Does this line up with anything? No, it doesn't. Yeah, this is harder to trade. This is one of those things of if you just have the money and it's a new coin on KuCoin, then sure. Actually, this one's on Binance. This line. I like this line. So it stopped, round it out again, stopped. Actually got through it, but didn't hold it. Got through it, didn't hold it. But then as soon as it holds it, gone.
And then bang.
And so it's fighting with moving averages. These moving averages really are they're just an indicator of when it's ready to do something. Strength is just starting to build, not doing anything. Finally gets above it and gone. And that's why, could this have happened back here? Sure. There's no reason that this had to drop another 15%, multiple times and just chop sideways. But this is the value of kind of that plant the seed and forget it sort of a thing. Because you're just like, oh yeah, I had a week and a half of nothing, and then 60% out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's just how these work. It's just having the mentality to
How you
know that that's okay.
another question then, how you would like, okay, I see market, it's going sideways, it's preparing, how would you set your stop loss in this situation? Because every course that I took it back in the like not so many long ago, like I did the Cameron Foos course, I did like the Chris course, all of them basically say somewhere around 3 to 5%, but you would get hacked on this like with 3
Yeah.
to 5%.
So coins like this, it's kind of tough to do that. You certainly could. I mean, realistically, the spot that would have been like the spot to buy in on this, and just to be as straightforward as possible, hit resistance, hit resistance, hit resistance, hit resistance, gets over it. The spot to buy would have been right in here, and then immediately 10%. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like I don't have a good answer for that, because it's one of those things of buying it. It's one of the reasons that I don't set.
Yeah, you
those,
told me you don't set
stop.
stop losses. I think that I would like,
It's great.
I would have a heart attack.
So
and I just,
what I would have done in this
got
scenario,
2 heart surgeries.
so what I would have done in this scenario is I probably would have came in here. It's dropped really quick too. There's not really much of a pattern going on here. But let's say, for example, this comes up over, touchdown, I buy this one. The first thing that I would have done is drop another one up here. And that would have been it. I would have said, okay, well, I got my position. We're great. It would have went off here, and I'd pretty much do the same thing and zoom out a little bit and say, what's going on? Is this just choppy nonsense, or is it something going on? And it's one of those things that like that happened multiple times on like our man setup, where watching this and I'm saying, it shouldn't go below this level, and then we get this, this set off an alert, this set off an alert, this did. It's like, no, we're fine here. We're good. We're holding. Things are coming up. This very well might just go sideways until these come up and smack it and send it off. It is one of those things that I don't have a great answer. It's just that as you start to set these up and as you start to see these and know kind of what's coming up, you'll just be worried less. Although I think that there's certainly a way to do this where you set a stop loss. I just don't know it because I don't.
Okay, gotcha.
I just don't have good advice. I'm not going to try to pretend to.
No. I get your point. I get your point.
This actually reminds me of one of the things. It doesn't remind me, but I just looked at something else that reminded me. This is not behaving super well to this pattern. Like, there's definitely some volume that came up to it, but like I don't see a whole lot happening. Geez, what just happened? When in doubt, go to the CME, and it's almost always a better pattern on CME. Even like this pennant that we've got here, so much easier to see that this is actually here. It gives you much cleaner lines. Even this falling channel has a lot less nonsense in it. It's not perfect, but highly recommend, if you're actually trying to look at patterns, to use this first and see if it has enough data for you. Yeah, so that's actually what I'm going to say. For whatever reason, this exchange one, I've got this line too low. This is like it blocks out so much of that stuff and gives you more clarity. This is telling me that I'm not even close to it yet.
That's very useful.
Huh. Yeah, and I can see like you told the other day about the CMA gap that used to get filled pretty quick. Like it definitely happened. Like you can.
This one did. Sometimes they don't. I mean, like I said, this one waited until all the way over here. But if you look at it, it is exactly where that wick stops.
Yep.
As soon as it fills, closes up. Then you get stuff like this. Like this looks like a gap, it did actually immediately come up, fill that, and then did its choppy nonsense. But it's like those, you can't trade solely on them, but it's certainly the idea that like, if this created a gap and ran up to the next level, so like I was saying that like, I would not expect this overcorrected thing to happen here. I'd expect it to be more up here. If this, like, if we opened up this week and everything ran up higher and was up here and we had a gap to fill that was down here, I'd be like, okay, you know, I'm just stacking the book on reasons that I want to just take profits and hold on for now. And so that's why there's not one idea to trade on. It's just like building the ideas, just kind of just starting to stack the deck, you know, writing these things down. Like, oh, we have a CME gap. We have, you know, 3 weeks of green. It's like, yeah, sure. I can't be upset if something pulls back a little bit. It's just how it works.
Yeah.
And so that's the next biggest thing is trying to monitor for these things, and they are tough to do. There's no great way to do it, because you look at this and go, oh yeah, you know, it happened right on bearish divergence. Like, that makes sense. It's like, yeah, but you got more here and here and here. And so it's like, it is tough to do. That's why you almost never are quite ready for it to happen, which is why it's like, start scaling out at some point. It's like, all right, yeah, things have ran up a little bit. You know, leave part of your portfolio if you want in like the small caps because you're confident in them, or, you know, whatever reason you have. And then just know that these are going to happen. They exist. And so if you're worried about missing out, how many people have gotten into crypto and said, oh, wow, I'm glad I never sold because everything just took off forever? And it's like, no, it all comes back down. Just ask all the people that held all of these poor coins. Rip. Put $1,000 in as soon as it launches, and you're down to $200.
So can I let me know when I can shoot one more question for you?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, this is looking good, by the way.
Yeah, you can finish your idea on this one. And
then, no, I'm just talking nonsense. Go for it. What do you got?
I was about to ask, like, how do you? Okay, you're looking for, like, it's season. It's your season for small cap coins, right? And how do you how much of your portfolio you are willing to put into every pick that you make?
So the problem with the small caps, and I can actually probably show this live. Have you guys had issues, by the way? Let me start with this. Buying some of the small cap stuff. Like, you go to buy it and you're like, wow, I just moved the entire order book. Have you seen that happen? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that? Or no?
I already seen, like, when it pumps, like when somebody, like on Chris group, posts something about these small cap coins, and then everybody goes and then they fuck up the.
Right, but even like if I go to place a buy order right now on Grin, so Grin doesn't have a whole lot of volume here. Like, this looks like it's 15 minutes of literally no buys or sells happening here.
Yeah.
If I went to place a buy order right now, I would actually move this candle. I cannot buy, you know, I can't take my whole portfolio and say, hey, look, I want Grin, and I can't buy Grin. It just, that order will just not get filled completely. I'll start to move the candle. People will sell it. It's exactly what happens here, actually. People buy it, and then a bunch of people say, or the bots or whoever, sell it. Buy it, sell it. Buy it, sell it. Buy it, sell it. And this is what it looks. This is basically how I buy these. Let me place an order. It's a little bit above what the ask is, and it gets filled, and then it gets crushed. And then it's like, okay, we're back down here. Place another buy. Fill it, crushed. Fill it, crushed. And so in terms of portfolio value, it really depends, because a lot of it comes down to, one, how much I like each coin, how many I find that I like. and then it comes down to how much I can actually put into each one. So like man is a smaller cap, but it actually has decent liquidity in it. And so I
Yeah.
can actually go into this and place an order for, I'd probably, if I were trying to put 5,000 into man, I'd probably do it in 2 to 3 orders. Place an order for $1,000 or 2,000. Kind of look at the order book and figure out what I want to do there.
Okay.
So in terms of like portfolio size, I am at any given point almost always half. I prefer at least half into these, and then I leave some on the side for if there's some 15-minute charts that are coming up that I like, or
Well, no, I was about to say, like, for example, let's say I have $5,000 to put into small cap coins. I'm willing to.
Yeah.
So how do you divide it? Like you put like $1,000 into a coin. You put like.
This is a really good question. So a lot of what I would do really depends on, is it like, okay, if you're trying to just maximize your gains over the season and you don't want to try to do day trading and do all that kind of stuff, if you had $5,000, I would say at any point hold 5 small caps. And so I'd essentially say 5, because if you're in this one, and my strategy with that would be that, say you have $1,000 in man, it gets here and it pumps 20-30%. Sell it.
Right.
I would have sold the entire $1,000 because Chris pumped it. You're now at 1,300. I would keep 1,000 of that for this retest that was going to happen. And so I probably would have bought on this. I don't know who I was talking to, but I definitely would have watched this level that was marked here and would have said, I sold up here, sure. If I bought back down here, I made 15% that I didn't have before, kind of a thing. I would have put that 1,000 back in there, and then I would have taken that other money and found another coin that I liked, waiting for it, or transferred it to one of the other ones that you liked that you had more, like ISP right now. I would have came over and looked at this and said, wow, I like this. This one just went from, I had $1,000 here, but now I'm at 800. And I would have said, you know what, let me take that extra 300 I just made, put it into this one, because I think this one's going to go somewhere.
This is a fucking nice, if this candle closed like that, it's a freaking nice candle.
This thing looks great, man. And that's how a lot of these look. And this still might do nothing for a while, but like, this is a strong setup. Like, this very well might just roll out of here and just carry on. This could take a week. You know what I mean? And that's why I say that, one, you want to spread yourself out. You don't, as good as this setup looks, I would not go 100% to this, because if this goes sideways or goes down a little bit, you're just going to be so furious watching everything else make money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why you have to spread yourself out. One of yours starts to move. And that's actually, you can see I have an alert here, because if this starts to move, I'm going to come look at it and go, do I want to get out or not? Do I want to transfer that to something else? Because this is going to be another almost 20% move.
Yep.
And so it's a bunch of that stuff. And in the amount that I buy and sell that kind of a range, a lot of people won't do, because this setup looks so good. Things are curling. I mean, this is set up to, really be up here at some point. It really is set up to just start climbing. And so it seems silly to say, hey, trade this, trade that, whatever. But these do chop more often than not before they just start going. And so there's definitely been times where, I sold this 20% and then it just goes. And it's just like, well, you know what? I can't be upset about that. I fucking played myself on that one.
You got 20%.
But if I had that's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm happy with 5%. Can you imagine happy with 20%?
Well, that's the other thing with these, because like this,
the only other thing I suppose
you would have said, I think I bought this back in here. I don't know where I bought this. I bought this back in here somewhere. And so like at some point this is down 10%. And it's just like, I don't care, setup is still the setup. It looks great. It's like, did I get in a little bit earlier? Sure, whatever.
You've got to put that alert in though, ain't you? Above that alert higher, because if this gets put by Chris, then you need to know you need to be taking profits fast.
Right. Which is why you'll actually see alerts set here.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah,
I actually have one on the bottom here. So I sold Senso when it pumped. And I'm waiting for this to say, sure, I'll buy more if it hits this. And,
Yeah.
it's close. If it takes off here, then yeah, I missed it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
would you miss out on a trade then just by that small gap from your alert not entering? From me, because that can't be much of a percentage, can it? Surely that's not.
So this is 2%, less than
2%.
So the thing is that I'm not watching this. I'm setting an alert so that I don't have to watch it. I actually, if you see my support line, I actually put this above it because typically these will smack a support line and just get whipped up really, really quick, like this right here.
Yeah, I see.
And so I actually put it a little bit above it so that I know when it's coming down. But yeah, I mean, if this stops here and starts going, I'm never going to get this alert. I'm never going to know unless I actually go back through my list and say, hey, let me check Senso out again.
This is actually
so surely I could miss it.
One thing I've learned: try not to, if you sell, try not to look back too much at the trade.
Right, and that's what I mean.
It can be disappointing.
I don't know what I took on this, but I'm going to assume I said, hey, you know what? 15%, I'm happy with that. Sure, fine. And move it to the next thing. I mean, you just start compounding.
Yeah, compound
but
profits. Move on.
Let me phrase again that this is against the other things that I've said, which is just that, in the grand scheme of it, this is, you would have taken 50% and sold, you didn't get a full retrace on this. And then it put in another, 200 some percent or whatever.
Yeah.
And so this is where you really just have to figure out how active you want to be in it and how much you want to flip it around. A lot of what I'll decide on this too is I'll set an alert, and these typically don't come up and smack something and then just get plummet in price like this candle. This candle just got wrecked immediately. These don't often do that. And so if your alert goes off, what I'll do is I'll actually scan other things and say, hey, let me go look at this. And I go, oh, wow, this looks amazing. I would love to buy more of this. And I go, well, this just went 20%. Yeah, let me take some of that. You take half of this, you do something and just switch it over to this.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't always have to be, hey, I got 20%, I want out. If there's nothing else that looks good, then, set it and forget it. Let it ride.
Wow,
the cycle is wild.
That was a very good. That was a very clarifying class. Well, thank you very much, Sus.
Absolutely, and it's tough to explain that because a lot of the answers really come down to just what kind of trading do you want to do? Because if you don't want to bother with this shit, don't just chill. But you have to know that if you have $5,000, you're picking your 5 coins and you're essentially saying, these are my 5 ride or dies.
Yeah,
it's a matter of what you're okay with, and after you go through one of these, a time or two, you start to not care as much. Truthfully, you end up getting to a point that it's I picked 5, 2 didn't go anywhere, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. The most important here, it's don't go against the trend, right? Because otherwise, because you need to know the time to enter, because you don't want to enter this if it's not the season, let's say that, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean,
because sometimes because let's say if you can go back on time on this coin and you can see a lot of good patterns in the coin, you can see a lot of good patterns before the season, but it just didn't go up because it wasn't
right. Yeah, and it's a lot of these, I mean, this isn't coming back down to where it initially was, but this is, there are people that have been holding this since back here. I guarantee it. And these people are up right now. But 1.5x, that's great. It's 1.5x in a year and a half. You know what? You're killing it. But realistically, if you just identify that these swings happen, hell, I'm going to say we sell here. You sell this spot. You don't care about this nonsense. You're already 3x'd. You do it again. You get in right here where this pattern is. And you sell early again and you 2.5x. And you're now what? I don't know what that comes out to, but it's 9, 10x on Senso alone in 2 swings. This person's up 1.5.
Yeah.
Which is like, you've now turned your 1,000 that you put into this into 10,000 in a year. And so it does it the next time. And you're now taking that 10,000 and putting it into 5 more of these kind of setups. And it's just like, it just keeps going.
Oh, this one again, even.
That's exactly. And that's all I'm waiting on for full time, is that these swings are so massive that it's like, yeah, let me just get to the capital stack that I want before, I just do this full time. Let me give up on everything else that I'm doing.
I mean, this is good. This is a good concept for midterm holding, but it'd be nice next time for you to talk through, like, if you want to do a bit of day-to-day, quick 10, 15% here and there. I suppose
we can absolutely do some of that.
Totally different, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is different.
It's a very different ball because
the one setup that I was really proud of the other day that I had, not the other day, I think it wasn't Lit, it was Lit. Lit was the good one in group. Yes. So I was day trading this one here. And so it already had this run up. I did not buy into this. I didn't even buy into this. I started adding these orange lines when this had been about here. And so I think that the way that I actually found this was I was in here and I went through, where's the KuCoin setups, KuCoins. And I just, if I'm day trading, I'll go in here, change this percentage so that we're at the max one so that I can see what has, all of the hype going to it for whatever time. And I'll just start cycling through some of these. And so like when I saw this, it probably looks, let's go to replay. So I had probably seen this here. And so I came in here and said, I see this looks like a line. This probably wasn't quite this angle because this looks not right now. And then zoomed out a little bit and said, well, this kind of connects. These kind of connect. I was actually probably on a 15-minute time frame then. So that makes me think. A little bit more compelling here. There we go.
Yeah, that looks better.
And so I'm looking at this going, wow, this thing is overextended to shit. But if I'm trying to day trade, then I'm like, hey, I've got a chance on this. And so I am probably, and I set this, why is this resistance line here? That's the next question. Boom, right there.
Yeah. Falls
hard
nice
stop on both.
Falls nice with that pattern,
doesn't it? Yeah, and so I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, well, this is falling. I'm willing to wait before this, I'm sure, because actually there's another one right there, and here. Because it's falling wedge, because it's on support, because it's the big pattern, I'm like, okay, well, I'm willing to get into this, whatever. I don't actually remember when I got into this. Probably, actually, let's check our thing. Look, bam, gone.
Jesus.
Let's go. Right? So I'm drawing this pattern. I see this is green, bullish right here. That's when I would use this. Bam, I'd say falling wedge. This is green. I'm getting in. You buy right here. And you're waiting for it, and you have a couple options. One is that you say, I'm going to sell when it hits the orange, and I'm going to take 15% and be cool with it. The other is that you say, well, I'm going to sell part there, and I'm going to sell part at this resistance because it did that once. Or you say, you know what, it breaks out, and I'll take 37 because I don't think it's going to break that. And then it just goes and defies all the odds. But like, look at how fast these can happen. And again, I mean, stacked more divergence again, and then just gone.
Yeah, everybody was seeing that. It doesn't happen all the time.
No, you definitely you cannot expect these gains. That's why I was proud of this, because this one was like a 90% call, and look, it's bouncing right off my support line too.
Yeah. And then shit. It was chopping a lot then.
Wait a sec. I'm not sure what this is doing, but it's going to come back down here again. RSI getting super low, coming in on our support.
So when you're doing the day trading, you're more zooming in 15 minutes, hour, less than an hour, I suppose, yeah?
So when I'm doing day trading, I like to start at the 5 minute. Right. If I get a pattern on the 15 minute, like if this orange triangle, I am only really interested in that because I am almost at the apex of it. Yeah. Because truthfully, this thing could have done basically nothing for another 12 hours. And that's like, I'm going to go to bed and it's going to be nowhere. And I'm not going to hold this overnight because this could very easily just dump down.
Would you zoom out first to the 4-hour chart or higher to get your support and resistance line before you zoom into the 5-minute chart, 15-minute chart?
No, I would do the opposite.
You'd do the opposite.
So if I were looking at this, let's do this right now. We'll do this live. So I'm on 5-minute chart. Let's just start KuCoin. Go right to the top. Hi, what do we got?
Hive.
Let me go to 15. I think I might get actually some more. I don't like it. It's not that clean. But immediately what I'm seeing on this is some kind of triangle like this. And I've said it before, never, never, never buy these. Don't do it.
Turn into falling wedges,
especially after it's overextended by 30%. This thing I can almost guarantee will end up in one of these.
That. Yeah.
And if it doesn't, guess what? You walked away from it and you're still happy because you didn't lose money.
Yeah.
So I'm starting on 5. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. This one's got a little bit more data. Let's go to a 15. And I go to the 15 sometimes because it narrows down the wicks a little bit. This one doesn't really have much of a pattern that I love other than kind of one of these sort of a things. I don't love it though because it's kind of just rounding out.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do is sometimes these will just kind of pop a little bit. And so the next thing I'll do is come out here and say, well, this is resistance or support. This is resistance. And then I'm like, all right, well, let's go back in and reevaluate now. And I go, it's in the middle of the two, not interested. Never mind. Done. You got to cherry pick with these. This could be something. These candles are horrible on this. Where are we at resistance wise? Oh, yeah, no, I'm not touching that. Nobody wants a piece of that. And so you got to cherry pick with these a little bit. But this is essentially how I'm going through it. I'm just smacking the next one, seeing if anything stands out.
Yeah,
and if you go to the larger coins,
if
you go to larger coins, you can sometimes get some cleaner patterns. They just don't move quite as much. This one looks like it's about to do the next leg up, actually. Well, this has something bigger. This isn't small, but there's a bull flag on this level. We all see that?
Yeah.
I love that one. But that's essentially how I'm going through these. Just 5 minute, and you just got to cherry pick until you find something you like. Don't jump into something, especially if you're day trading, because the first thing we're doing is starting with the coins that are really hot. It's actually a horrible list.
Yeah. So find the green coins, zoom into the 5 minute, 15 minute, look for a pattern you like, zoom out, get your support and resistance line, zoom back in. Look
and they don't have to be. The green ones are higher risk because like that asymmetrical or that symmetrical triangle could easily break lower. They are higher risk, but they have the attention going to them. There we go.
All right.
Here we go. That's already touched there.
That's another question as well. I mean, I probably would have gone the opposite, gone for the red coins, because obviously what goes down's got to come up at some point, and you're looking at probably
which is
reversals. You know,
it's certainly a valid way to do it. You can really go either way. I like the green ones because often those patterns. Let's actually go back to. Sometimes these patterns will nicely overlap with a. Sometimes these will nicely overlap with a fib level.
Yeah.
Stop right on the 0.618.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can use those sometimes. I don't rely on these a whole lot, but if my pattern overlaps like that, if my pattern overlaps like that, it taps it and says bullish avertance, and I'm like, okay, let's go. Like, whatever.
Just a bit of extra confirmation, yeah?
Exactly. And so it's just building your case for whatever you want. But there's no real right or wrong other than practice. You will lose some of these for sure, especially if you're charting the green ones like I am. You're gonna have some times where they go the other direction. The real trick with it is just to know that if it goes under where you're looking, just get rid of it, dump it.
Yeah.
I don't see a whole lot.
There on these scalping, you know, these day trades, you could use a stop loss just underneath the pattern, can't you? You know, because
absolutely
you're losing small amounts.
Yeah.
My recommendation, if you're using stop losses on this stuff, try to like even if let's say this is our pattern right now, if you're trying to use a stop loss on this, use the wicks. So let's imagine that this had some wicks that came off of it.
Yeah.
Use that as your stop loss guide. Go under it.
Yeah.
Don't use just the candle close because they will smash these. But that's the general idea. Does that make sense? Does that help at all?
That
makes a whole lot of sense, man.
For one lesson, that's brilliant.
The hard part is to practice now.
Yeah, that's good. I think
because honestly, like when you watch the courses and and you talk to people, it kind of look easy, right? But when it's happening live, it's a whole
different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, like
emotions can get crazy when you're trading. You gotta just keep a level head with it. Tap the bottle.
Yeah.
This is already closed for the day.
We up for this every week then, yeah?
I mean, I'm okay with it as long as it's topics. I don't care.
That's great. I think today's been brilliant. I mean, I don't want to go and keep going.
Yeah.
Information overload. I think
information overload. Exactly.
We can just use this week to just practice what you've just gone through and, you know, hammer it out and try and fine tune it sort of thing. And then maybe next week, in the week, if we've got any questions about what we've been charting and whatnot in the week, we can go through them maybe.
Yeah. I'm good with that. My biggest thing, I will say that, you know, if you guys are looking for homework, get your trading views organized. Like I said, I've got.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really easy to uncheck one of these and it's gone forever. So I actually do have them backed up here. It's all the same ones.
Right.
But I'll go through these 300s, and when like I'm cycling through and I see one I like, it's just like, oh, this one's semi-interesting to me. Flag it. And so a bunch of the flag ones are just sitting in here.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about flagging them. I didn't think about flagging them. Even that, you know, a little tip there, brilliant.
Yep. And it's like you're able to just cycle through, and even if it's like, this one, you know, this could be potential, sure. Moving on. Not placing any buys right now. Let's move on. You know what I mean? And just keep cycling your way through it. I would just get yourself some kind of organization like that works for you. I'm not saying mine's the best by any means, but figure whatever works for you.
Alrighty, I think this was pretty
good. We good
with that? Thank you, Sus. Thank you, everybody that was in the chat, and like, thank you, everybody.
Likewise.
Thank you all for contributing.
Brilliant. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Take it easy, guys.
Have a great night.
And you. See you later. Cheers, Sus. Thank you. Take care, mate.
Yep. Bye, everybody.